Y'all ready? I will stay plugged in. Because I know she knows. It's almost time to eat. All right. So y'all stay plugged in. Just give me a few minutes. I promise I'll be very, very quick. Thank you so much. Like she just said, the MDHS audit, we got a clean audit. They didn't have any findings. I had to call directors. Like she said, she gave me the bye-bye, Angenette, do the best you can. Right? And it was very... She was like, do the best you know. I'm serious. But we did meet and had an opportunity to talk about, because that was not our first rodeo with them, right? So we knew what to expect, but we just didn't expect them to audit us then, right? So that's why you have to always be ready. And that's what we strive to do at the board. So thank you so much, directors, CCNs. As she said, she was out. I got a chance to take a glimpse of what she has to provide, right, in that awesome binder. And we do have binders of everything that you guys give us. So it was pretty easy to pull together. All right, so let me make sure I do this right. What are we doing right? So there are some things that are actually going right with the program, and I'm very grateful. You guys are submitting your reimbursement reports, so make sure you thank your CCNs as well as your finance person. You're providing some forms of supporting documentation, communicating tardiness with me regarding your reports as needed, prompt follow-up. I send an email within the next few minutes. Most of the time you guys are able to respond, so I really appreciate that. Working with your finance departments internally, that's awesome. Checking the numbers. Some of your CCNs are checking the numbers before the final report makes it to me. And then you're submitting your contracts. That was awesome. Contracts and the addendums, because a lot of times we do just have the addendums, right? And the budget narrative. So I really, really appreciate that. And as Ms. Barnes already told you guys, hopefully if and when we're praying that we do get funding, you guys will be able to have a quick turnaround with those contracts and narratives as well with MDHS. All right, well, we got some areas of improvement. And I'm just gonna mention these and we'll talk about how to address them on the next slide. Although you're submitting those reimbursement reports, I need them timely and consistently, okay? Checking the supporting documentation for all required elements of your report. The dates, we want to check those. The accrual, completion, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. The paid dates and the signatures. Using the budget line item cover sheets consistently. And then we're going to address the gap in purchasing, the purchasing process, delayed reporting, year-end, crossing over years, and then modifications. You see that I have that italicized, so it's not necessarily a big area of improvement, but we do need to address it. Okay, so now let's take that let's take that slide and just talk about how to address these. Timely submissions of your reimbursement report. And I'm like, yeah, Angie, I know y'all got all this stuff that's due at the beginning of the month for everybody that y'all got money from, right? Everybody, right? Everybody want their stuff, right? We need ours too. So your finance officers have been really, really great in working with the CCNs. Holidays kind of throws everybody off. But here's the thing. If the 5th is on a Sunday, I still expect a report. Here's why. Because I may decide to work on it and get it done because our finance department has to have at least 2 days to look over everything that I submit to them. Now they know I'm anal, so a lot of times it's just a spot check. For the most part, we have to get it to them no later than the 8th of the month so that we can get it out to MDHS by the 10th of the month. Now, some of your finance officers have contacted us. Hey, we're missing checks for March, April, May, June. Shake your head, y'all familiar, right? They probably reached out to y'all first. And that's MDHS, and we've been working diligently with them to try to make sure you guys get your wire transfers, right? So that is part of the issue. We have to have those reports in on time from you guys, regardless if y'all say, well, I know Angenette on vacation, so I can send it on the 7th when she back. Right? I know I got 200 pages. Don't send it on the 7th if you got 200 pages worth of reimbursement for me to go through. Send it, but send it as soon as possible. So directors, I'm going to ask you your signature goes on that reimbursement cover sheet. Yes, yeah, right? Right. Have y'all seen it? Oh, okay. So your signature goes on that reimbursement report. Not that you're supposed to go through every page. However, do some spot checking, right? Make sure the signature's in place on the timesheets. Make sure that you've done your part as well. Your navigators are doing an awesome job. Just make sure that you're kind of spot checking things. All right. So by the 4th of each month, I need you guys to expect to have that reimbursement report ready so they can send it out to me by the 5th. Okay. Supporting documentation may not necessarily be your job. However, there are usually 2 pieces of supporting documentation that I map back to your general ledger. So your general ledger is one, and then you have 2 additional pieces of supporting documentation. Why is that important? Because a lot of times things may change in the purchasing process. You may have put down one thing as your quote, but then when you pay the bill, it may be another thing. Does that make sense, y'all? Shake your head. Okay, great. So at least 2 pieces or more of pieces of supporting documentation that I can map back to your general ledger. So when your CCNs are getting that together, when you're signing off on purchasing orders and what have you, we want to try to push that all the way through to the end of the purchasing process. Make sense? Make sense? All right, I'm standing between y'all and lunch. Y'all got to talk back to me. The budget line item cover sheets. This is actually a quick way for you all to check to make sure everything is there. I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to single anybody out, but those are so important because what happens is a lot of times, certain times of the semester, you all may have bigger purchases, tuition, incentives, than you do other times of the semester, right? If you check that supporting documentation and that budget line item cover sheet, you will probably be able to catch if something was left off. Believe it or not, we've had colleges that miss tuition reimbursement. That's a big deal. That's a big deal, right? So it may not hurt to kind of check with finance before they send it off to me or whoever sends it off to me to make sure that you're requesting all of your money, because we want to definitely make sure you spend it all. However, I've had to deny some things. And I don't like doing that. I want y'all to spend all your money. So please, y'all, make sure you use that. Oh, well, I missed $5,000 for tuition. And now it's Junevember, and it should have been requested in January. We can't do that, right? So please use those budget if you're just doing a quick spot check with that. All right, so, and remember, y'all signing off on this. So I'm like, well, the finance officer and the director sign off on this. Okay? Gaps in purchasing process or your delayed process. So what happens, especially when the year end is closed and one year end is closed and you will open up another one, we have to make sure that we don't give finance at the board the blues, because then they give me the blues. So that means that you're going to really have to help your CCNs make sure that they get those incentives in on time and not hold things. You may need to revisit your contract that you have internally or whatever you say about incentives, because when there's a lapse or a gap in that piece and the funding is gone, those students, I mean, I'm sure that you guys are heartbroken because you have to find some more money to make sure you pay those incentives. And we've had that to happen as well. So y'all see why this is an area of improvement? Because y'all call me, I'm like, I want to give y'all this money, but I don't have it. Right? It's gone. It's gone. Okay? So make sure we pay really close attention to that. So a lot of times you guys request the HSE and then some other type of completion incentives. I get that before you give them the $200. And then sometimes some colleges will do 100 with one completion and then 100 with the other one. Whatever works for you guys, but try not to let too much time fall in between those. I know you can't control the students' matriculation. However, we do need you guys to stay on top of that, because requesting something from 2000, let's just say somebody got their, yes ma'am, I see your hand. Let's just say somebody got their HSC in 2019. But you're holding it because I know students come in and out, and they have another completion incentive in 2021. They're gonna miss one of them $100. Does that make sense? because that money is gone. When we had Kellogg 1.0, we had a lot of flexibility. Remember that piece? Shake your head. Y'all remember Kellogg 1.0? Who remembers Kellogg 1.0? Raise your hand. We had a lot of flexibility. We don't have it anymore. Okay? Yes, ma'am, Whitney.
So this grant ends October 30th?
Are you talking about MDHS?
Yes.
MDHS ends September 30th.
September 30th. Okay.
September
So
30th.
we have students who are in the fall semester right now, credit classes.
Mm-hmm.
And we have not paid their tuition yet.
Mm-hmm.
Will we be able to pay their tuition with the new grant money?
So, no. So here's why. Because I've seen where people try to prepay tuition. You can't do that.
No, but if we pay right now, and our financial aid department right now is still several weeks out on the side of eligibility.
I
So
understand.
if we pay that now and they get paid, then that money's gonna get refunded to the student.
Right. So here's the thing. Even when the grant money runs really, I mean, they're very strict about that. So say, for instance, Andrew, you pay my tuition for, what is this? This is September, so let's just say this starting in, January, right?
No, I'm talking about students who are in the fall semester right now.
Right.
We haven't paid their tuition yet because we're waiting to see what they get from pay. Started in August.
Started in August, and so they're actually in class. So that needs to come through as soon as possible because this money is going to run out at the end of September.
I understand, but what I'm saying is,
Because what you're saying is they've accrued the expense, right?
yes.
And so we have 45 days after the grant end to close out everything. So if it doesn't happen in that time, does that make sense? Because there's no rollover when it comes to MDHS. And you're asking about new funding, right? New funding?
I'm just trying to figure out how to handle this.
Right.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So are you saying that you have students enrolled into your program right now?
Right.
Okay. So they came in as a minor student.
Yes.
Okay. So are they enrolled in 6 credit hours?
Yes.
Okay. So have that been submitted to the business office so that they can take it out of your grant?
Not yet, because they applied for Pell also.
Okay, but here's the thing. We can't, it's either the first 6 credit hours that we're paying for, and once they pass the first 6 credit hours, then they get the pay.
These students, a lot of these have their HSC by this point. So if they receive Pell, they will get a refund on those 6 hours.
So if they already have their HSC,
What are we
then
paying
we
for?
should not be paying for the first 6 credit hours.
They got it in the meantime. I mean, they did it in the MyBest program. And that happens. That's happened to us the whole time we've been
Right.
doing MyBest.
Right.
As they go through, before they start their credit classes, they may complete their HSC.
I got you now.
Gotcha.
And so we have had this
I got you.
situation happen, and
Right.
we luckily caught it, where the student almost got a refund
Right.
of the MyBest fee.
Right.
Because Pell, all the way through, I talked to my financial aid director about this, all
Right.
the way to the end of the semester,
Uh-huh.
it's possible for that student to get approved for Pell.
So here's where the issue is going to come in, Whitney. We may need to talk offline. If the student started in August, right, and you don't find out if they get Pell until December, that's 2 different pots of money. When it comes to MDHS, September 30th ends this pot of money that we're in right now. So unless we go ahead and reimburse for that right now, does that make sense? Because the charges were accrued.
I totally get it. but
In
what do I
August.
do? Because then they may get a refund.
We've talked about this, and this is something at Holmes, and Wendy and I've talked about this. A lot of your colleges are now making students go 65% of the semester
Mhm.
before Pell is applied to their account. So that's what she's talking about. Pell will not probably hit that student's account until November 1st, or a week after midterm, which will be October 15th.
I got it.
So that's what she's talking
So
about.
when
They may be
they-
eligible for Pell, but you won't know what the refund is until 65% of the
So
semester.
then we've already paid for 6 hours.
Right.
Pell comes in, the student gets a refund for these 6 hours, so the student has made money off of the HSC.
And that cannot happen.
You have 45 days.
So we will have 45 days.
So here's the thing. when the grant ends, that means that I have 45 days to get the final little expenditures that were already accrued into them. No new expenses can be made after September 30th. So let's just say you bought some typing paper or copying paper on September 29th. You understand what I'm saying? And so now we have from that time to make sure that they come all the way through the purchasing process. But no new expenses can be accrued after September 30th.
So we can compare tuition after in the 45 days.
So here's the thing. So if the expense has been accrued and you guys have actually requested the reimbursement, that's one thing. But if you're saying that you're not going to wait until October, November, that's a new grant year that we're not even sure if we got yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just don't know what to do.
I totally get that.
I think we'll have
Because
to
we
talk.
can't pre-spend money that we don't have.
Yeah, I think we have to talk offline. because-
Yeah.
Is that the only college that's happening? I mean,
We just can't pre-spend money because the way the grant ends, because if we had rollover, it may be different, but we can't pre-spend money because that student may not show up. You follow where I'm going? Or they may be in class, but if you guys have not requested the reimbursement, because we don't want to give people money back either. So that's another internal control that we're going to have to address. Jennifer, I hear you talking. Yes, ma'am. Jennifer?
We don't do they don't do their FAFSA until after we've done the 6 hours, because we ran into that.
We won't take the page if they've already, the first day of request class.
Uh-huh.
We won't let them do my best unless they have not got an HSC.
Okay.
If you've gotten your HSC.
Uh-huh.
You're not hard, I mean,
Yeah.
you're completed for adult ed and you can go financial aid.
And go ahead and get your-
Enroll full-time.
so if they get it in the weeks before it starts, You don't allow that?
They're all, they work with our navigator, but we enroll them, full-time, because really.
ATB?
Pulling 6 hours out of these classes will make their educational experience longer. They can go enroll full-time and be done in a semester or two, rather than, does that make sense? If on the first day of class, you've earned your HSE, you're not doing my best. We'll still help you and support you emotionally and like that, but you're not making my best money. You're gonna go and do your FAFSA. But now, our financial aid department, we've heard that on that, they're gonna push you through and get it.
Get it done. So to answer your question, I don't know what you're going to do, but I just know when it comes to these grant funders, when it ends, it ends. And when another one begins, that's when it begins. And so no new expenses after the end date. Does that make sense? So that 45 days is closeout time. And that doesn't mean that the colleges have 45 days to get the stuff in to me. That means that I have 45 days to get everything to MDHS. Okay?
I mean, what she's saying is true and accurate, but
Right.
let's see what we can do to help figure out this.
All right. So we good? I know that's probably not the best answer, but we understand what we're saying when it comes to these pots of money. Shake your head one way or the other. I'm standing between y'all and lunch. All right. So, where was I? Gap. Okay, so that is a concern. So we don't want you guys to miss your money, especially when you've already paid for this. Even if it's commodities, we need to make sure that we follow that purchasing process all the way through so we can give you guys your reimbursement, right? Okay, so reporting in, modifications, okay. So I put that in italicized that because you're not doing an awful job with it. You guys are calling us and asking, hey, Angenette, can we move money here? Can we do this? And in times past, it was not an issue. So MDHS will only allow one modification per year. But for the most part, you guys have done excellent with that because no one has really asked to move any money, and we would have to do it collectively. It's not one college and we can just modify the budget. So when we modify with MDHS, we modify the entire budget. However, when we did the contracts and the narratives, we tried to spell out everything in anticipation of where you would need money. Y'all remember that part? Y'all, yeah, yes, no? Okay, we're gonna move on from that. Kellogg, however, in times past gave you guys a little leeway in moving money around on your cover sheets. Because we manage several pots of money, We don't do that anymore. So when I ask you guys about what it is that you need for digital equities, let's just take that because everybody had an opportunity to get that money. More than likely, I gave you more than what you needed in anticipation that you may need. If you ask for only equipment or contractual services, I put a little money in commodities, right? Shake your head, this way, that way, right? So it's going to be up to you all when you send your request in to get with your finance officer. For example, a computer could be a commodity, or it could fall under contractual services, or it could be a piece of equipment. It depends on how you all break it down. So the actual laptop may be in a piece of equipment, but everything else, that the way that you all break it down on your purchase order, part of that could be commodities. So it's going to be real important when you're doing your purchasing to make sure that your finance officer explains to you, yep, this is based on our internal controls. This is equipment, this is commodities. Am I making sense? Because when you ask me about a modification, especially 1 month before the grant end, I'm gonna say no. Does that make sense, y'all? Oh, y'all gotta talk back to me. Come on now, y'all gotta say something. Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, and I'm not trying to be harsh, but we have so many cover sheets and so many grants that we're monitoring at the same time. Got it? Okay. All right now, I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just trying to be efficient. We good? All right. So, that's pretty much all I have. I try to be pretty lenient when it comes to, generous, especially when it comes to that money that we're spending for digital equities. Just make sure that it's going to be support services for your students and or for your classrooms, right? I didn't put a cap on anything. I told you guys to make your wish list, didn't I? Make your wish list. And we still got some money left over. Still got some money left over. Do you guys have any questions I may be able to answer right now? Hello? Okay. I was trying to say, I think Carla was texting me, so anywho. Do you have any questions on the, from the virtual people, Mark? I have my laptop if y'all have specific questions that I may be able to answer. Be patient with our finance department, MDHS people. We are working on getting those wire transfers to you. Some of you guys have been emailing about that, so our finance person is working diligently to make sure that you get your money, we get your money to you. Ms. Barnes, did I miss anything? All right. Y'all hungry like I am? Okay then. Questions? All right. Record time. All right. Thank y'all so much.